statement. And who, may I ask, makes more fashion statements than those people who run around in brightly colored, tight underwear saving the world? I'm Nick in New York.
I'm Phil, also in New York. Now, fashion has played a big, important role in comic books since they began. The story that he or she is in sometimes isn't as important as what they are wearing. Like the immensely popular Crazy Quilt, for example.
Nice outfit. I'm Jamie in LA. Superman's new look, Palookaville and Jean-Paul Gaultier. This week on The Anti-Gravity.
Everybody's talking about Superman's new look and powers. Nick went to DC to check it out. What I can't understand is why nobody is surprised by the fact that DC also plans to make Jimmy Olsen look and talk like Ice Cube. Now I got a laptop computer.
I'm so tired of the old Superman. What's a kid to do? Wow, it's Mike Carlin!
Yes, the executive editor of the DC Universe, also known as the man who killed Superman.
Wow! What are you doing here, Mike?
I heard your cries for help, little Nicky, and I'm here to tell you all about the new Superman.
Wow! Tell us about the new Superman, Mike.
Well, the new Superman has found himself sadly genetically altered. He is now a being of pure energy. Bullets do not bounce off him anymore, they pass through him. He doesn't fly anymore, he zaps from one place to another, much like I do.
Why the change?
Why not?
Wow! Who is involved in the decision, Mike?
Well, all the writers and artists who work on the Superman comics regularly thought this was a good idea, and I guess I'm the man who let it happen.
How will this affect Superman, Mike?
This will change Superman for the foreseeable future. He will now be a being of energy. He will save the world in many different ways. What will not change is that he still stands for truth, justice, and the American way.
Is this change forever, Mike?
Forever, an interesting concept. We never say never at DC Comics, but we also never say forever.
Wow!
I would like to ask the general public of North America to please stop worrying about Superman. He is in good hands with DC Comics.
How do the fans feel about the new costume, Mike?
Oddly enough, the older human beings feel very distressed, while the younger life forms say it's cool.
Wow!
Are you still bored with Superman, little Nicky?
No way, Mike!
Then my job here is done.
Tell me more!
I can tell you no more, save to request that you purchase Superman number 123 on sale in the middle of March at a comic shop near you.
Okay, Mike.
I'm off now to tell the rest of the world about the new Superman!
Wow! Wow! Free jacket!
I hate when that happens.
Thank you, Mike Carlin.
I know you're all wondering about Batman's new fall line, and when Swamp Thing will be releasing that new fragrance. Well, to answer those and other pressing fashion questions, Eugenie went to Paris to the source of fashion info, Jean-Paul Gaultier, or JP to his friends.
Bonjour, it is Eugenie in Paris, France, and on the menu today it is Jean-Paul Gaultier. Because we detect an influence of superheroes and comic books on the world's greatest fashion designers, especially Jean-Paul Gaultier, fashion's #1 bad boy. Tell us how your fashions have been influenced by comics.
I first read by one French one that was called Lily, and that is Lily. She's very funny, very Parisian, and very couture in some way. So I loved her, and maybe I am doing a little of that job because of her. Now it's with me, you know. So it's like one dream that arrived to me. I am now part of it, of that cartoon. After that, I was very much influenced by one which is Barbarella. I think I put a lot of Barbarella in a lot of my clothes. I think it was good because it was sexy and strong. Of course, I was influenced by Batman. Popeye also, I forgot to. Of course, I looked at Popeye. Oh, can you imagine? No. Popeye is #1, I forgot that. That is the one. And I eat a lot of spinach. It didn't make difference for me, but anyway. Popeye, of course, is one of my favorite heroes.
So, if you could transform any superhero and give them a new makeover, a new look, what would you do?
I think I should take Batman, but I should put him in skirt, of course. Of course, it cannot be something else. It's good that he show a little of his feminine side, because I suspect he has some, so he has to show it.
Palookaville, Wildstorm, and Utility Belt do's and don'ts. Up next. Okay, game reviews in 60 seconds or less. I'm going to talk about Star Wars Shadows of the Empire for the Nintendo 64. Check this out. If you're a big Star Wars fan, or if you're a big Nintendo fan, you definitely have to check this game out, because it's one of the best Star Wars games that have come out, really. Now, check this out. You can drive a snow speeder, you can down AT-ATs, you can shoot AT-STs, you can be Dash Rendar. Now, if you don't know who Dash Rendar is, Shadows of the Empire was a storyline that took place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Very interesting storyline. It all has to do with Boba Fett and Dash Rendar and Prince Shizor. It's very interesting, and it really adds to the whole Star Wars trilogy. Now, the game itself, I have to give it 4 Gs out of 5. Why? The graphics are good, okay? Sound is very good. The play is good, although it takes a little while to get used to the controlling of Dash Rendar. I was falling all over the place, but I have to give it 4 Gs out of 5 because it's a very good game. Definitely check this out if you're a Star Wars fan, or if you're a video game fan. 4 Gs out of 5. Shadows of the Empire.
Seth is the story of a man hunting for a gag cartoonist. How does this fit in with our fashion theme? Seth wears clothes.
Madonna, Cher, Sting. I'd handled cases for all the big one-namers. Now it was Seth. Why Seth? It wasn't even his real name. Just another Joe from Palookaville. I checked all the local gin joints and dives. No sign of him. But I knew if I'd waited long enough, he'd show. I figured the best way to get the goods on Seth was to ask him straight out why he got into drawing comics. Funny, though, it wasn't what he said, it's what he thought that really got to me.
As a child, you love comics. You get older, you start drawing them when you're a teenager, and then eventually, before you know it, even though you've kind of outgrown the stuff you're reading, you're a comic book artist whether you like it or not.
Another hard luck comic book artist story. I'd heard it all before. What I wanted to know is where he got the name Palookaville from, and what did it mean?
When I first started the series, I was looking around for a term that was sort of outdated or antiquated, and I went through quite a few, but Palookaville seemed like the right name. It comes out of on the waterfront, I think.
I could have been a contender. Palookaville is about Seth's search for an obscure artist named Kalo. What was the big deal about this Kalo guy, and what did Seth want from him?
Kalo was a gag cartoonist back in the roughly the 30s to the 50s, and a fairly obscure one. It's hard to explain what attracted me to him, besides the fact that I initially liked his work. But in real life, as I got deeper and deeper into collecting, looking for his stuff, when the time came, it seemed like a good framework for a story.
I had heard that a lot of people were getting on the bandwagon. Seems like everyone wanted to take a trip to Palookaville.
In the alternative community, there's a fairly small number of people that would be interested in what I'm doing anyway. And I suppose I was surprised that the series caught on with that crowd. It hasn't, like, taken the world by storm or anything. And that's pretty much the sort of response I expected.
I told Seth I thought it was interesting that he had written Palookaville as an autobiography. I also told him to stop using my PI voiceover shtick. He didn't want to take my advice.
I think you're naturally drawn to it because it's got the most ring of truth to it when you're writing. And it's the easiest way to steer clear of any kind of melodrama.
I wonder what he meant by that. Well, another case wrapped up. The only thing left to do was to go back to my office, put my feet up, and wait for the next guy with no last name, no wonder in. I guess it was like Seth said, it's a good life if you don't weaken.
We all want to be on the cutting edge of fashion, and superheroes are no exception. Old Superman outfits.
We talked to 3 top-ranking fashion designers and asked them to rework some comic book characters for the 90s.
$50, man.
Look, too much, man.
Favorite model's Chris, and he actually has a little bit of red in his hair, which he didn't have last year, which is perfect, because Archie has red hair. He has on, it's a ribbed Shetland sweater, which is just basically color blocks. He has on printed striped corduroy pants, and he has on Johnston & Murphy's saddle shoe, which is now done in brown and black. Just sort of a very 50s sort of high school thing. I think the period when you are a kid is very influential on what you do the rest of your life and the way you see things.
Captain America was definitely needing some restyling in his costume as well as his accessories. He's just looking very covered up, and he's got a really great body. Here's the 90s version of Captain America, much more street smart, wearing stretched glitter pants. The boots are now under the pants. He's wearing a gold homeboy chain. The A, rather than being on the face mask, is now shaved into his head, and the shield has now a sort of a street weapon, a detachable star that can be used as a knife. So there he is, much sexier, much more contemporary.
Since I never read comic books when I was young, and this was my first experience, I was shocked. Have you seen these things? I mean, Catwoman, she's like, it's like, this is like totally like a male erotic fantasy. I mean, she's like in thigh-high boots with a whip. I mean, it's like I dress like this often, actually. And, you know, I look almost exactly like this. I thought she should become a little more feminine. So I have her in a little slip. And over here, it's sheer, it's transparent, it's a little see-through, so, you know, for all you guys that love Catwoman the way she is, maybe this is a little compromise. Updated her mask, her hood here a little bit into just some big wraparound glasses. And, oh, I gave her some utility belts, kind of like this, because, I mean, she doesn't even have pockets. Like, even Batman has a utility belt. Where does she keep her lipstick and everything? Overall, in general, kind of taking her from that 30s Vargas pinup girl to be a much cooler, more modern kind of girl of the 90s and even the 21st century.
This just in. Amalgam returns. Challengers of the Fantastic, Iron Lantern, Magnetic Men, and Thorian of the New Asgards are due to hit comic stores in April. Batman and Robin, the animated series, is back in production. 22 new episodes and a straight-to-video movie are soon to be released. Acclaim launches new heroes, Trinity Angels, akin to John Woo meets Sailor Moon, and Quantum and Woody, described as Quentin Tarantino's Batman and Robin meets the Defiant Ones.
Come on, people, what's wrong with you? The Man of Steel! Superman!
I don't think they're going for it, Nick.
Well, it'll make a nice area rug anyway, Phil.
Now, wasn't he in the Legion of Superheroes?
No, that was Batman's other sidekick, Kid Carpet, the Broadloom Wonder.
Oh!
Hey, what's up, fellow peroxide lovers? I'm Nick here in the center of fashion in New York City with Comicopia, my weekly chance to reach out to all the children in all the world. First up this week is Mythos #1. This is an odd book about a rock band called Strap and its struggle to the top. The story has a creepy gothic backdrop as band members have encounters with strange plant creatures, dogs back from the dead, and record producers with more piercings than you'll see on a trip to St. Mark's. The storyline to Mythos seems to be an homage to bands like Nirvana, with the lead singer of the band dying in early death. The writing is very nice on this book. It captures the pressures of being in a band while keeping the weird sci-fi feel of the book. The art is also notable. It has a very textured, gritty style to it, which complements the writing perfectly. Mythos, The Final Tour is a great read. I give it 4 out of 5 Gs on the anti-gravity scale. Next, since we're talking about fashion, let's check in with a super cool chick, Supergirl, #7. Now, we all know Supergirl, but this latest incarnation is quite different from the classic. This Supergirl has merged with the body of a young girl, Linda Danvers. When Linda's parents come to visit, Supergirl is haunted by memories of Linda's past. Supergirl experiences a flashback where a younger Linda is taken from the ranks of a crooked church into the world of the occult by a mysterious man. The writing in this book is pretty cool. It shows how Supergirl is having trouble psychically separating from Linda. The drawing isn't bad either. It has a very nice feel to it with great coloring. It's great to see Supergirl with a new twist. I give it 3.5 out of 5 Gs on the anti-gravity scale. Last, in the spirit of true fashion, the most fashionable girl in comics, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, number 1. This is an enchanting tale of awesome trends and teenage heresy. It follows the adventures of Sabrina, a girl of the tender age of 16 who was raised by her aunts who just happen to wear pointy hats and collect brooms. On the day of her 16th birthday, Sabrina discovers a shocking secret. She is indeed a teenage witch. Well, hilarity ensues as our girl attempts to control her budding powers. The book is drawn and written in a traditional Archie style and, surprisingly enough, fits in perfectly with the rest of the Archie titles. Sabrina really takes me back to my days on the witch circuit. I remember this one time we got a frog and... oh, well, never mind. This book is 3 out of 5 Gs on the anti-gravity scale. See you next time.
So what if they draw people with unrealistic proportions? So what if they create an image of a woman that no human female could possibly achieve? They're snappy dressers, and that's all that matters.
How do I look? Just kidding. I traveled from Los Angeles to La Jolla to talk to a bunch of stylish guys here at Wildstorm Productions. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves and say what comic you work on?
I'm Tom Ratney, and I work on Stormwatch.
I'm Matt Broom, and I work on Wildcats.
I'm Jim Lee. I'm working on Wildcats X-Men. I'm J. Scott Campbell. I'm the penciler on Gen 13.
I'm Richard Bennett, and I work on Brass.
My name is Javon Kirby. You can call me JJ, and I work on Backlash.
My name is Ryan Benjamin, and I work on Iron Man.
Okay, so first off, how important is costume design to a character?
When you do the character designs, you spend a lot of time developing a character so that they can be animated. And nowadays, you think of them a lot in the context of multimedia.
Okay, well, where do you get your ideas for the costumes, or do you have some sort of fashion consultant?
We steal them from Jim's sketchbook.
A lot of it is actually comes from fashion. I watch a lot of VH1 and MTV, the fashion hour.
Jim Lee rules the world with an iron fist.
A lot of designers and stuff, the kind of things they do, I think, are actually influenced by things we do, and we're influenced by them because we tend to do very weird, kind of very slinky, tight, highly reflective costumes.
I pick up ideas from everywhere. It's like, if you got it, I'm taking and making it mine. It's just like I gave myself a seatbelt. I bought check it out. It's tight, you know what I'm saying? I got a seatbelt, and it works, you know what I'm saying? Hey.
Well, what do you do to make the outfits original?
It's influenced by real life things. Like, when the Gulf War was happening, you saw images of soldiers and those big movement and superheroes that have belts with pouches and look like, basically a pouch. And they never use them for anything, but they look kind of cool. It's a fine line between making a costume look too complex versus the fact that you have to draw it over and over and over again.
The characters have to have their own personality, and it should come out in their costume. And if you got 50 guys standing around, you got to be able to figure out which guy's which. Even if it's a little tiny shot, you got to be able to know who's who.
A really coolly designed logo can really say a lot about a character. Or just the fact that if you see a silhouette of Batman and just see the ears, it's recognizable as Batman. It doesn't get confused for anything else. And I think sometimes that kind of simplicity, at least an element of that, is a good thing to throw into a costume. Like, I think there's a character in Gen 13, Freefall, and her distinguishing point is that she's got pink in her hair. And I think, hopefully, you don't distinguish or confuse her for any other character in the comic book universe simply because nobody else has a little pink stripe in her hair. The kinds of comics we do,